transmission on this truck. This is a little different from the normal content on the channel. This is a 2001, 10 of 2000. 3/4 ton Chevrolet with a 6.0 in it. A lot of my friends call it the unicorn truck because it's got an NV 4500 5-speed standard in it. The truck has had a rough life. It was totaled out and bought by a friend of mine in Houston at a wholesale auction. It got hit in the bed. Didn't really do anything but hurt the bed. They had a bed for a 1/2 ton, white, long wheelbase, same body style bed. So they put it on there and they drove around as their shop truck for a few months and just got aggravated with the fact that it was a standard. And I needed a shop truck because I'm operating a small business and doing all my driving around trying to get up with customers and look at properties, and I was doing it in an 8-liter V10 powered Dodge that was getting 7 miles to the gallon highway. So I got this truck for cheap, and it had 150,000 miles on it when I got it. No synchronizer in third. I guess everybody in Houston, Texas learned how to drive standard in this truck, so you just had to improvise, adapt, and overcome and figure out how to shift it into third gear without using the clutch. That's literally the only way to get it to go into third gear without just basically pushing the clutch down and then forcing it to jump into third gear. That sounds to me like it's worse for the transmission than having some gears rubbed now and then. So I know people are going to be opinionated about the way that I shift the transmission in this truck, but you know, this is America. You got a right to your opinion. I don't have to agree with it. But no, the truck has had a rough life. I've abused it. They abused it when they had it. These 2000s body Chevrolet trucks are cheap. They're not hard to find parts for. They're easy to work on. I don't drive around like it's a trailer queen or it's a mall crawler, and it's, you know, I'm not out there armorelling my tires to hang out in the Walmart parking lot. We work this truck and we work it hard, but we do spend money on it where money needs to be spent. When I got the truck, it had a bad rear main seal leak, and it still has a bad rear main seal leak. It's just getting the free time and the funding to fix it, because the thing about being in a small earth-moving type business, you'll have all the free time in the world to work on things in the wintertime when you're not working and you're not generating any income. So, you know, I live the struggle like everybody else does. But in the near future, this truck is about to get a rear main seal, oil pan gasket, valve cover gaskets. We're pulling the transmission out and putting synchronizers in it, so the transmission will be like brand new. We're going to adjust everything up and get everything right in the transmission. It's had a little bit of heat warp on the front rotors the whole time I've had it, so under hard braking the steering wheel shimmies a little bit, so it's getting slotted rotors in the front and OEM new rotors in the back, new pads all the way around. And then it's got the infamous General Motors mysterious, the head bolts break from, nobody really knows, they just break off, or the exhaust manifold bolts. I've got 2 broke on my driver's side manifold. It's not leaking yet, but while we got it up in the air and we're doing all this to it, it's getting new gaskets, new exhaust manifold studs, and then the exhaust pipe, for some unknown reason to me, it keeps breaking the pipe weld off the flange on the passenger side manifold. I've welded it up twice, and granted, it weren't my best welds. I did have to kind of lay underneath the truck and weld by sound, and got a good bead on some of it, but it's breaking off over there again. It did fall off shortly after I got the truck. Basically, where the pipe fits up flat against the flange, it just fell off, and I had basically an open manifold on the passenger side, and it sounded terrible. But we got that back together. When I got the truck, it had 2, I'm assuming Series 40 Flowmasters. I didn't look up the part number, I didn't care. They were kind of half welded by what looked like a small kindergarten-like capable welder with, it appeared to be some coat hangers and 12-volt batteries. They managed to somehow mud dauber some welds on there and enough area to hold it together, but they were both crooked and 3/4 of the way not welded up. Had leaks everywhere, had true duals on it, they were all bent up. One blew into the fender, the other one drove the ground. So first thing we did was cut it off right behind the catalytic converters, and I put a dual 3-inch inlet, single 4-inch outlet Magnaflow muffler, big case. That I believe they only make that one in one size. And then we put an LB7 4-inch tailpipe on it for the Duramax. And I'm a believer in tailpipes. I don't really care if you don't believe in tailpipes. That's up to you. I'm not gonna beat on your horse. That's just, I don't like to have really hot exhaust gas dump out right in front of my axle that's already generating heat, that's got brake lines and wires run all over the place back there, and I would rather just blow the heat out the side of the truck somewhere. And seeing as this is a work truck and my business logo is on the side of it, I don't really need to wake the dead. I want it as quiet as I can get it. I like things that sound nice, but you know, I don't need it to sound like the Daytona 500 when I go through. A lot of times it'll be early in the morning or late in the afternoons, and I'm driving around. I don't like it when my neighbor fires up his straight pipe 4-cylinder Toyota truck, so I'm not going to do it to other folks. Magnaflow makes pretty decent products. I like the way that the straight through mufflers sound. It seems more natural to me. I don't have any personal vendetta against Flowmaster. Matter of fact, most of my tractors have Flowmasters on them. My bulldozers got a Flowmaster on it because you can cut a hole in the side of the muffler, weld a cap on the inlet side, and then you've got a muffler that's really short, and it's quieter than not having a muffler. But Magnaflow makes stainless. They seem to last fairly decently. I haven't ever had one rust out or leak or break, so I use their products. I don't really ever buy the kit. Having access to a shop that you can fit large machinery in, you can pretty much build whatever you want, so there's no need to spend extra money on a kit when you can just make something work and work just as good as a kit will work. But that's plans with the truck. As far as the YouTube channel goes, we're gonna try and get some more content out. It's gonna be videos like this one here, truck sounds and pulling bulldozers and operating machinery and dump trucks and everything in the world. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting at a job right now that I'm about to have to get go ahead from the customer, and we're moving the big yellow iron out here today, and 8 o'clock tomorrow morning we'll be pushing all those sticks over there into a pile and collecting a check, pass and go, and moving on to the next one. And I'll try and get as much as I can as far as content goes for you guys, people that might have interest in things like that. I know I certainly do. I spent 10 years driving a truck, both in the oil field, and then I got tired of never being home, so I went a little closer to home. That's where my log truck video driver came from, or my log truck video had came from. It was after I had quit the oil field because it seemed like the oil field was making more and more ridiculous safety regulations to try and protect stupid people from themselves. Lo and behold, very unsuccessfully. It turns out a stupid person is going to hurt a stupid person, whether it's against the rules or not. And I got tired of people just making up solutions that won't solve the problem, and then if it doesn't work, then it's the truck driver's fault. And I got out of it. You know, it was decent money, and if it's something that you do, then more power to you. It's America. It's a free country. You can do what you want. So I got into the log truck business, and the log truck driving business for about a year. I did that, and it was, once again, you know, I drove all day, every day, and never went anywhere, and sure didn't get to spend any time at home when we were working before the sun come up and after the sun went down 5 and 6 days a week for not really worth it, in my opinion, as far as the monetary compensation goes. And my dad had run equipment and his own bulldozer business for the whole time I was a kid growing up. I grew up in an old 70s Cat D5 with a 5-speed manual transmission and a clutch lever in it. And when I was 8 or 9, 10 years old, my grandpa threw me in one and said, "This is how you turn it on, this is how you turn it off, figure out the rest of it on your own." And I just figured it out. And it's something I always kind of did on the side. Even when I was driving a truck in the oil field, I did a lot of construction work in the oil field, building pads, things like that. A lot of times I would move the machine out there, do the job, load the machine up, move it to the next job, and it made for long hours and little sleep. And so I got out of the truck driving business, and it was just a natural progression to step right into doing that on my own. And it's got its ups and downs, but I get to go home every day and see the family and kind of dictate my own schedule more or less. I say more or less because you're at the whim of both the customer, their budget, and the weather. And it's a struggle, but everything's a struggle. The hardest dollars to earn are honest dollars. But if that's something that you're interested in, then you found it. You're in the right place, and we'll try and get some more videos out for you guys. And there might be some videos in there. Like I said, being a small company, if we have a machine breakdown, we don't call a manufacturer and have them come fix it. We drag it into the shop, pull it apart, figure it out, and get it back together, and push it back out the door and start turning the dollar meter again. And I'll try and get as much of that content as you guys are interested in. I've got an 8.2 liter Detroit that's right now it's a rotating assembly with the headset on it. We've still got to do the valve train, the timing case, everything in the timing cover has got to go in. Flywheel, clutch, all the hoses, belts, accessories, turbo's got to go on top of it, and we're stabbing it back in the truck. Hopefully have the little 9-yard truck back on the road. The bank account would greatly appreciate the the biggest money pit currently in the operation back to put money in the bank and not the other way around. We've probably spent $4,000 or $5,000 on that truck since it went down 2 years ago, and it's still not back together because either we can't find the parts, or we find the parts and don't have time to do anything with it. And then by the time you get time to do something with it, then you got to find the parts you already bought, and it's just a big old terrible mess. But we're going to try and have that truck back together, and we're going to get a pendle hook trailer to stick behind it so we don't have to move bulldozers and stuff around here with 1 tons. 2.5 ton truck's got a little better brakes and a little taller gears, and it helps. But here coming up shortly, we're going to have a 97 old body style Ford with a 7.3 in it, the non-intercooled 7.3 with a built automatic. I have a buddy of mine that he built this truck for really taking some abuse, kind of like my old shop truck here. He does more than what the little sticker on the door says you're supposed to. We're gonna drag the old D5 out here with it, and set me a camera up on there so y'all can listen to that wonderful sound. Now, it was straight piped, and before you start to hate, that truck was ridiculously loud pulling my big heavy D5 down the road. You could hear it echo through the trees, and it was really disturbing the peace. So we scrounged up an old Flowmaster that was laying in the corner of the shop, and we stuck it on there, and that's gonna get his truck by. He's gonna get a 4-inch downpipe back, all new exhaust. It's getting pretty thin and rusty. He's got an aftermarket downpipe on it already, but it's spent many years and many miles on the interstate up in the north, and the salt gave it cancer, and it's got rust underneath it, and just needs to fix all that. We're going to get that taken care of, but until then, because once again, I've seen virtually no videos of one of these 6 liter 3/4 tons with a standard in it on YouTube, and I haven't seen really any turbo diesel trucks with a Flowmaster on it. It definitely sounds different. I really kind of think Flowmaster had a swing and a miss there. If they would have had a 4-inch inside diameter hole in their Flowmaster mufflers, because they're all 3-inch, whether it's a 2-inch inlet or a 3-inch inlet, the actual holes in the Flowmaster between the chambers are only 3-inch. And if they would have just bumped that up to 4-inch, then you could put those on the common rail 5.9s, and it really quietens them down. Not everybody, believe it or not, likes to listen to a Sasquatch screaming through a blowhorn echo through the tree line out here in the middle of the woods. Some people do, and more power to them. But in my old age, at almost 30, I've gotten to the point where I like things quiet. I like them to sound nice, but there should be a limit. But he's pulled, I think his current record is he's moved 50,000 pounds gross with that 1 ton across the scales once or twice, and that's a little better than my personal best. I've moved a 416 cat backhoe regularly with this 3/4 ton. I've moved his cabin chassis 1 ton Dodge back from Mobile Bay, Alabama, and we were probably grossing 23 to 26, somewhere in there. 1 ton extended cab 5.9 powered Dodge with a 5-speed in it, flatbed on the back, and 2 big bales of T-posts strapped down to the bed of the truck on a 32-foot, 20,000 pound axle gooseneck trailer. And we pulled it from Mobile, Alabama to Center, Texas. You can Google that distance. But I pull backhoes and dump trailers and all kind of stuff that's probably too heavy to move with this truck, but it doesn't seem to mind too much. It just needs a little TLC, and it'll keep turning the odometer until something happens to it, unless it burns to the ground or gets T-boned by a freight train. We're gonna keep band-aiding it back together and setting it back out on the highway. I really think these old 2000 body Chevrolets are really underappreciated. You can pick them up for cheap. Parts are all cheap. They're easy to work on. It doesn't take a whole lot of mechanical knowledge to figure these LS motors out. They're just push-rod V8s. They're pretty simple. It's not a 5.9 or a 6.7 or a 3408 Caterpillar motor, but it does the job for cheap enough. I've dealt with diesel trucks, owned many myself, and I really think unless you are pulling 40,000 pounds regularly down the interstate for financial compensation, that gasoline trucks are really not a bad option to go. 10 years ago, I would have probably slapped myself and yelled blasphemy, but these old gasoline-powered half tons, 3/4 tons, and 1 tons, they seem to do the job okay. You're not going to get any kind of 9 o'clock news special spotlight for getting there a minute and a half quicker with your diesel truck, and not to mention all the new diesel trucks are exponentially more expensive to work on. I can replace every injector in this truck for less than 1 common rail injector on most all the modern trucks. I don't have a DPF filter. As a matter of fact, when we do the exhaust on this truck, I won't have catalytic converters. We don't test here in this area, and as long as it's quiet, who really cares? These catalytic converters that are on the truck, the right one's bad, the left one's probably going bad, so I wouldn't meet emissions anyway. And I'm not spending $600 to have something in my exhaust that's just another part to eventually go out. A piece of pipe will do the job just fine, in my opinion. But I think that's we're 20 minutes into this rant now, so I guess if I can come up with any new ideas, or you guys can come up with any new ideas or things you'd want to see, leave them down there in the comments. Do my best to get to it. When you're the guy that's making things happen, sometimes priorities get a little wrong. It might take me a little while to get to it, but if you've got a question or you want to see something, or if there's any way that I can help you out, or one of these other guys in here can help you out, really that's what YouTube should be all about, is just the community coming together to appreciate things and solve problems, and the world would be a lot better place if that's all that existed. But unfortunately, you've always got that troll that says, oh, well, you rubbed third gear twice in that, and you're destroying that transmission by shifting it without using the clutch. And I don't care. You know who you people are out there, trolls of YouTube. I do sometimes partake in that myself, but that's the point I'm at in life. But I guess you guys keep the shiny side up and the dirty side down, and keep it between the mayonnaise and the mustard, and try and stay out of the broccoli, and we'll catch you guys on the next video.